This is
Make It Plain.
Make It Plain.
MIP.
With Masamela Matfumo.
Mark Thompson.
Make It Plain.
Get woke.
Welcome to another edition of Make It Plain. Once again, Wednesday, we join the League of Women Voters and People for the American Way at a White House demonstration to demand Biden either nix or fix the filibuster. That still hasn't happened. A couple of weeks ago, you recall Martin Luther King III, his wife Andrea, and their daughter Yolanda, the only King grandchild, committed civil disobedience. And many of us joined together again Wednesday for the same cause, along with Ben Jealous of People for the American Way and Virginia K. Solomon of the League of Women Voters. This fight continues. Bishop Barber joined us on Wednesday. We also heard from others who was there. Many of you know Cliff Albright of Black Voters Matter. Here's his better half, counsel to Black Voters Matter, April Albright.
We're with April Albright of Black Voters Matter.
That's right.
What's happening?
What's
happening? What
happening?
brings you to D.C. today? Why is this stopping
We
this filibuster?
got to kill this filibuster. I mean, right now we see what's happening all over this country. We know right now they are already drawing us out of power for the next 10 years. And this bill, we need it because it will start to deal with these independent, commissions that will begin to draw lines that will draw us into power, right? So we need it for that reason. But we can't get it without the filibuster being gone. And Biden knows that. So we're here to say, stop playing. Stop playing. Do what's right. Black folks and other folks gave you power, so use it. Use it in the same way that the other side of the aisle would use it. Because we need it. We need it in the South, we need it in the North, and all of our communities need you to advocate for passing of the filibuster, changing of it.
You all already been looking at several races early, even this year.
That's
Are
right.
you already seeing the effects?
Absolutely. Right now, what's happening in places like Georgia, where people are confused on how they're supposed to how to do absentee ballots, right? Because they have a double ID requirement. And so it caused confusion already. Already we see at polls, people are afraid to provide support. Folks were providing support, and our polling places always have longer lines. And so we're already seeing the implications of that. People are afraid to go and help people out at polling locations. How crazy is that? So we need to get this bill passed now. And the John Lewis Act, because we need the DOJ to be able to stop this before it even gets in place. Yeah. And so they got to get to work, but they can't get to work until this filibuster is gone, or at the very minimum changed.
Lastly, I know you've been down at the Ahmaud Arbery and the Washington Rittenhouse.
Yes.
I mean, we're
today.
We're at a dangerous place. Julius Jones.
Oh, come on. Yeah.
Rittenhouse may walk.
Yes.
Arbery's killers may walk. I mean, what's going on?
I mean, it's America. I mean, at the end of the day, it's America. And what we got to remember is we have to have sustained action. We cannot just vote. We cannot just do, one thing. We just can't do one protest. And all of our communities have to stay activated. Because through that, we know historically we've won. And so that's what we got to do. We got to have sustained action. We got to be here, but not just in D.C. We need to be in our communities, our city council meetings, our board of education meetings. That's where all real power and policy is developed that's going to directly impact you.
As a matter of fact, that's what Bannon said the other day. He said school board meetings.
We got to have the same attitude.
That's right.
We got to go to these places and make sure that our voices are heard, that we are capturing these positions, and we got to do it in a sustained way. That's right.
We were also joined yesterday by our good friend Judith Brown Dianis of the Advancement Project.
Judith Brown Dianis of the Advancement Project.
Yes.
How are you? What brings you out here today? Why is it so important that we go to the White House today?
Hey, it's important because Biden is trying to build back better. You can't build back better without the voters. And voter suppression is getting in the way, and he's got to act. He was in the Senate. He's got to move his people, or he's got to end that filibuster because we need to have our voices.
Ultimately, the filibuster could stop Build Back Better if it passes the House, right?
That's right.
I mean,
That's right. You
can't
get nothing done. You can't get nothing done if you keep the filibuster in place. And we know that voting rights is important. We brought people from Georgia and Florida here today because we need him to understand that this isn't just some of us in the Beltway, but it's the people in the states, the voters who care about these issues. So we're here to fight. We're here to push him. It's time. You know, it's past time. You did the other thing. You can't multitask. Let's get to voting rights now.
And lastly, the Advancement Project is dealing with a lot of these voter suppression issues in the states.
That's right. Yeah, so we have lawsuits in Georgia and in Florida. And as lawyers, we know how difficult it is to fight these fights. So we need protections for voters so that we don't have to keep going to court. Because there's a power grab going on. And it's a power grab that is built on white supremacy. And it's time for us to end it once and for all.
Judith Brown, Dianis, thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you, bro.
Also with us Wednesday, a legendary civil rights activist from Atlanta and chair of the board for People for the American Way, the Reverend Timothy McDonald.
Legendary pastor and civil rights leader, Reverend Timothy McDonald. How are you, sir?
I'm excited about today.
You've been here every week with Legal and the Voters and People for the American Way every time they've had one of these demonstrations, right?
Every time that we've been here, I've made my presence known because the cause is right.
Yes, sir.
The reason is right. And today is going to be even more so. There's more energy, more excitement,
Yes, sir.
more freedom fighters.
No freedom fighters. Why is it important that we take this right to Joe Biden's doorstep?
The buck stops at the White House. We got all other kinds of legislation, as important as they may be. Nothing is more important than the people's right to vote. Nothing is more important than preserving our democracy. When nobody else would confront the White House, we decided it was time to do so. League of Women Voters, People of the American Way, Black Vote Matters, and others. And so we've been here now since August, every other week, trying to remind our president that he has a responsibility to the people to secure our right to vote. All people, all parties, all persuasions. That's all this is about, and we're going to make it happen.
Dr. King, on August 28, 1963, mentioned interposition and nullification. Isn't that what the filibuster is?
That's all it is, and we got to do away with the filibuster. We know why the filibuster came into existence. We know the racial history behind the filibuster. And so the time has come for us to move our nation in a new direction, and that's why we're here.
Reverend McDonald, good to see you, my brother.
Thank
God
you.
bless you, man.
All right, buddy.
Thank you for being here.
More MIP after this message. We were also joined by State Senator Lena Taylor of Wisconsin.
Who will get arrested for the Voter Rights Act? And who will take it to the White House? We will. That's why I'm here. Yes.
It's likely that Governor Evers will vote against the current maps that's headed to his desk.
Yes, he needs to veto those maps.
What do you want to happen next?
I want Governor Evers to veto those maps. I want us to be able to have a right in the courtroom to be able to be heard. And oh goodness, I want a right to be heard in the courtroom. And we're going to need representation. And I'm here today to make sure we get that too.
Got it. Senator, anything I missed? Anything else you want to add at all?
I just want you to hear from the people. Yeah. What do we want? Voting rights. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Voting rights. When do we want it? Now. Yes. What do we want? Voting rights. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Voting rights. This message. Now. This message. Voting rights. When do we want it? This message is important for Joe Biden because he has the power to be able to do something about it. And if Joe Biden does what he said, if he's a man of his word, if he makes sure that voting rights is the #1 priority, he has shown his ability to be able to get bipartisan support. And I'm believing that he's going to do it on this. And so we're here to encourage that today.
What's the voter suppression, the state of voter suppression in Wisconsin? What's going on?
It was horrific in 2020, and there's been so many laws that have been changed in that regard. And so we have to make sure that we rise the voice of the people across the nation for what is right. Thank you, my brother. Good to see you again.
All right.
Thank you so much.
We've already heard from Cliff Albright's better half, April, but Cliff Albright himself was there Wednesday in front of the White House, along with Wes Bellamy, co-chair of Our Black Party.
Why we out here today, brother?
Man, we out here because we got to get our voting rights. We out here because we trying to deliver a message to President Biden. We told him months ago he got to pick a side. We've been telling him for weeks, no more excuses. We put him in office. We gave him a Congress that would give him power to pass his agenda. 9 months later, 10 months later, we still waiting on voting rights. Time's out for that. We need him to lean in, end the filibuster, pass these voting rights, playtime is over.
Well, I mean, you've been out here already in the streets in some of these elections. Are we already seeing the effects of voter suppression?
Yeah, we already seeing it. We already seeing it in terms of the elections. We're already seeing it even more immediately in terms of redistricting. Folks see what's going on in states like North Carolina, Texas, Georgia. Our sister senator from Wisconsin was just out here talking about what's going on there in terms of redistricting. We can't wait. We can't sit around and talk about, oh, we want to get through the rest of the agenda. Oh, we got to get through the holidays. We got to get through next year. Those that are gerrymandered, they're not waiting. We need the voting rights, and we need the protections on both voter access as well as redistricting and gerrymandering, and we need it now. That's why we're out here, and that's why many of us, over 100 of us, are willing to get arrested for it today. That's how important it is. We send a message that we are not playing around when it comes to our voting rights.
Don't do it and watch what happens. Don't do it and watch what happens.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Don't do it and watch exactly what happens.
That's right. That's right.
What do you? I mean, how much is this? I mean, what do you think about Biden and him being too silent on this?
Well, it's absolutely. He's had an abysmal, in my personal opinion, a very abysmal attitude towards voting rights. The same very people who are depending on these voting rights are the same base of people who elected him to office. And I think the party as a whole will continue to feel the wrath of the lack of voting protections across the country. Just like we saw in Virginia, where I live, how the Democratic Party believed that there was no way they could lose. In the 2022 midterm elections, the House and the Senate will both feel the wrath of this lack of action from the White House and this administration as it specifically pertains to voting rights and specifically advocating for the needs of black folk if they don't make and bring forth some tangible results in the immediate future. So I think it's very clear. Don't pass voting rights, don't lend your support towards it, and you're going to see what's going to happen.
Tell them, Wes. Tell them, Wes.
Thank you, brother. More MIP after this message. And of course, Bishop Barber, the architect of Moral Monday, joined us in front of the White House with some very direct words for President Biden.
Hello, family. I want you to know, first of all, in the name of God, God has gathered us in this place. I want the White House to remember that the scripture says, woe unto those who legislate evil and rob the poor of their rights and make women and children their prey. I'm so thankful for the League of Women Voters and Virginia and Ben, my dear friend from, at come points that the Spirit pulls the family together. And so on behalf of Reverend Dr. Liz Steele Harris, the Poor People's Campaign, the 43 coordinating committees, the partners, the 140 million poor and low wealth people in this country. I don't know if you know it, but in every battleground state, if just 20% of poor and low wealth people who have not voted would vote and be organized together, they could determine every election in this country. And that is the sleeping giant that they are literally afraid of. I wanted to come here today. I told Virginia I wrote something because I wanted to kind of make a teaching video that you can show anywhere, because folk need to really understand what's going on. And Mr. President, we want you to succeed and we will stand with you. But we need you to fight against the filibuster, because the filibuster is being used to fight against us and to bring down the democracy. We also need you to fight to invite us in to talk to you in the White House. You need to bring religious leaders and women activists and poor and low-wage people, the people you say you care about. You need them in the Oval Office. You've met with the senators. You've met with the corporate leaders. Now meet with us who make this country run. We need you to understand that something is happening that is trying to deny people the right to vote and deny living wages, to deny the provisions in your own Build Back Better program. It's all connected. It's not separated. Oh, that's just the devil. It's not separated. Republican extremists like McDonald changed the filibuster to put Supreme Court justices on the bench for life. Mr. President, now they, can I tell the truth? Can I tell the truth? Now they and two Democrats are using the filibuster to destroy and undermine the life of this democracy and the daily needs of people. There are three infrastructures. The infrastructure of our daily lives, which is education, health care, and wages. The infrastructure of our democracy, which is voting rights. And the infrastructure of our bridges, our roads, and technology. And we don't want some of it. We demand all of it. Mr. President, do you realize that if these plans get passed at the state level, 56 million Americans who used processes the last time in 2020 would be denied their right to vote, or the vote would be suppressed. Not just black people, but 56 million Americans. And we better understand that this effort is not just an attack on black folk. This is not just Jim Crow. This is an attack on black folk and white folk and brown folk and Latino folk and Native folk and young folk. It is an attack on the progressive voice in this country. And we have to decide, not on our watch. The filibuster is being used, Virginia, to block policies that would lift from the bottom. And do you know 73 million of the 140 million poor and low-wealth people in this country are women? The filibuster is being blocked by the Chamber of Commerce. Listen to me now. And the Chamber of Commerce is also blocking $15 living wages. We need to understand the unholy connection between money and greed and the denial of the right to vote. Mr. President, it's time for you to use all your weight in this office, the weight of the presidency. And if you do, the American people, as Sister Dianis said, the American people will reward you with votes. But if you don't and let them stall your agenda, it will depress the electorate. Mr. President, it's time to fight. The filibuster is not constitutional. So you did not swear to uphold it. But you did swear to uphold equal protection under the law for all people. Mr. President, it's time to stand up. And lastly, let me just say, Mr. President, why you got to stand up. This is a coward filibuster. Even Robert Byrd and Strom Thurmond wouldn't use this kind of filibuster. Senator Byrd said that the filibuster should be a fight where you have to defend it. But this is a coward filibuster where you hide in an office and claim you don't have 60 votes. And two in your own party are holding up the entire Democratic platform. You can't stand for it because you're not a coward. And let me just close here. It's time to have the fight now while Nancy Pelosi is Speaker. Because if the two senators in your party want to switch, let them do it now. While Pelosi still has the House. And then let the battle cry be, they switched off, but now we're going to turn on and change the United States Senate. The filibuster was used to block anti-lynching, but the filibuster was also used to block women's suffrage. The filibuster was used to block labor laws. The filibuster was used to block civil rights laws. The filibuster was used to block equal employment opportunities. And that commission, understand, the filibuster was used to block the Consumer Protection Agency. The filibuster, Virginia, and I didn't know this till I did a footnote and I'm through. The filibuster was used to block to protect women's health from corporate interference, but the men wanted to keep Viagra in the bill. Y'all don't hear what I'm saying. Y'all don't hear what I'm saying. There's an unholy alliance between racism and sexism and classism and the pornographic sums of money behind the filibuster. And Mr. President, it's time to stop the cowards from controlling and undermining the country. 21 states with the fewest residents that make up only 11% of the total population can filibuster the whole country. That is not what democracy looks like. When John Lewis and Martin Luther King were on that bridge, at the end of it, Martin said something that we very seldom lift up, Ben. Ben, you and I have talked about it. I want you to hear something. This is what he said to Johnson and to the nation, and we need to understand this. My brother and sister, this is not just a black issue. Don't you make it that small. Don't marginalize this. Dr. King said, the threat, listen now, of the free exercise of the ballot by the poor Negro and the poor white masses is what created the segregated society. The white Southern aristocracy is afraid of poor whites and poor blacks and Latinos coming together. Because if they can come together and vote, they will change the economic architecture of this nation. That's the fear. And guess what? We coming. Like it or not, we're coming. Like it or not, we're not gonna stop. We're gonna challenge the president, we're gonna challenge the Senate, we're gonna challenge anybody in our way, because with the right time to do right is right now. Our voting rights, our voice, our power, our strength, our ability will not be filibustered. Not now, not ever, not now, not ever, not now, not ever.
Thanks for getting woke and listening to Make It Plain. Please remember to listen, like, and wherever you get your podcasts, please give the show a 5-star rating. And please do spread the word. Let's all continue to pray for each other during this pandemic and this police-demic. If all hearts and minds are clear, it has been made plain.